So, sorry it's taken me so long to set up. I just need to share the live streaming link on Patreon, so give me a sec. I'm going to let you have a look at these sketches while I go do that. All right. So I think that's all set up now. Let me just double check. Yes. Hi. Welcome to my live drawing session that hasn't totally started yet, but I'm almost done setting everything up, and then we'll be able to get started. If you know me or if you don't know me, my name is Marie-Noëlle Wurm. I'm an artist and illustrator, and right now I'm actually in Switzerland for a comics illustration festival that's happening over 2 weekends. And in the meantime, I'm staying at a friend's house in Lausanne between the 2 weekends. So the sun is out and it's quite nice. And let me know if you have any questions. I can actually see the chat at the same time. So yeah, let me know if you want to know anything or... Oh, and that's the sound of the train going by. We're right next to the train station, which is kind of cool. I'm trying to figure out where my pen is. Darn. Alright. Give me 1 second. And just so I can explain to you what you're looking at, these are a few sketches that I did today because I'm co-hosting, co-participating in a drawing challenge this month with a few other top teachers on Skillshare. And it's called Bring Spring Challenge. And it's almost the end of April, and I haven't started on any of the prompts, and there are 10 of them. So I was kind of just brainstorming a few things here and there. All right. So, this is what I was looking for, my brush pen. I don't know if you're familiar with different tools, but there are a few of them that I use. So my more recent favorites are the Rittering Art Pen, and they're different sizes of nibs. This was given to me by my brother. And the brush pen, I think it's Pentel, which is also super fun and can do really interesting varying lines. So I can just give you a quick example. This can be very thin, and it can also be insanely thick. So look at the variation between the two. It's pretty huge, which is awesome. And I love that. Hi, whoever joined. I wish that I could see the names of the people that joined so that I could just personally say hello, but hello. All right. So let's get started. I'm not entirely sure what I'm going to be drawing right now. I was thinking I could continue with a little more brainstorming, or I don't know, maybe do a finalized drawing. We'll see. Maybe I can just give you a little rundown of the different things that I did today. So these are a few like deers that I did today. I've been working a lot recently on like animal anatomy, and sorry for the light here. I know it's like really sunny, so it's kind of varying a lot, but I'm gonna try to stay in the shade so that you can see stuff. So yeah, I've been working a lot on anatomy and doing a lot of weird sketches, brainstorm, foxes, more foxes, wolves, a lot of different things here. And I would love to know where you're from, or where you're checking in from, because I'm in Switzerland right now, and it's quite nice. Feels like summer. All right. And try to turn this. I'm actually going to just start out with a little bit of an abstract drawing with this brush pen, just so you can get also a feel for the different textures. But also, I do a mix of figurative and abstract work, and so I guess you can maybe get a little bit of a look into that. Also, let me know if the quality is good or bad. I'm really curious actually, because last time for some reason the quality wasn't very good, even though my phone is set to 180p. So I'm really curious about whether on your side it looks okay in terms of, you know, the quality of the image and stuff. And And so the tricky thing with this brush pen is if you want to do the super thin lines, you actually need to be super careful, because it's like almost like I have to slow down my breathing or stop breathing so that I'm able to do these insanely thin lines. Oops. And I'm sorry I couldn't have any music on this live stream because last time I did that, I had Spotify going in the background and somehow it got flagged for copyright issues, I guess because one of the tunes on Spotify, I don't know, it was copyrighted or something. So I guess that kind of forces me to do live streams without any music, but luckily the birds are chirping over here. What I really like about the brush pen too is how even within one line you can have such varying energy. I'm gonna actually just bring this up. I don't know why it's shaking like that. I'm gonna try to stabilize it. Not moving that fast. And yeah, if you aren't familiar with my work, you can check it out on Instagram at Marie-Noëlle Wurm, all in one word. And Wurm is with a U, not an O, because it's German. It actually, it used to mean dragon in ancient German, but now it means worm, like literal worm. So I got downgraded somehow along the way. And so I don't know if you can tell, but I don't really have like a set plan here. And that's how I often work. I mean, there are many times where, you know, I'll flesh things out with thumbnails and explore different things and then create a finished drawing, but I would say 70% of what I do is actually closer to improvisation. And there are multiple reasons for that, but I find that when you do that, you really gain access to a different creativity, a different type of creativity that's more intuitive and that engages your imagination as you're drawing. And also, it basically just brings you to new places, to things that you wouldn't have maybe thought up if you had planned it out right. So it's a really great thing also to do if you have like a creative block or something like that. Just start out. But usually I would say one of the driving principles, even when I'm improvising, is to use the tool, so in this case, you know, the brush pen, as the starting point. So what I mean by that is really trying to be present with how the tool reacts and trying to work with it rather than against it, and seeing how, by delving into the quality of the touch and of your presence in the lines, how that'll actually influence the drawing that you're creating. So for example, if I wasn't using the brush pen, I probably wouldn't be doing these sorts of structures with varying lines and line thicknesses. I'm curious actually what this pattern, if it evokes anything for you. To me, it kind of reminds me of the patterns you can find in wood. Something else I also like to keep in mind when I'm drawing is how negative space is working. It's something that I often pay attention to. No, I'm thinking actually I might integrate a figurative element in not too long, like maybe a fox or a wolf or a deer. I've been playing around with those lately and they're super fun. I might add that in sometime. Yeah, if you hear me sighing, it's because I'm trying to catch my breath after holding it when I'm doing these fine lines. I also sometimes with abstract work like seeing if there's something that I see within the image as I'm doing it, and then sometimes there can be like multiple ways of seeing a drawing, and then trying to actually follow that line and go more specifically in the direction of the thing that it just evokes. But it really depends. Right now, I'm really just exploring the different textures that, you know, happen when I'm holding the pen slightly differently. So like, for example, this, I was holding it a little bit with that tiny little thin hair on the left side, and then for these, I'm holding it on the bottom, so then it makes kind of like these commas, little droplets, upside down droplets. Hi. Thanks for joining. I'm working on an abstract drawing at the moment, but that might become more figurative later on. And I'm working with the Pentel brush pen, whether you're familiar with that or not. Oh, so, okay. The car kind of broke my concentration, and instead of doing my little comma thing, I ended up doing this huge blob. So this is, I guess, the perfect example of what I do when the unexpected happens, because that always happens when you're trying to draw. You know, you'll screw up, something will happen, and then you have to deal with it. So what I usually do then is I kind of try to forget what my initial idea was, and instead kind of reframe it by thinking, okay, this is my new drawing. This is my starting point, and with this as a starting point, where am I going to bring it? How am I going to transform it? So that's kind of like the mental work that I use when I'm confronted with a mistake or something that went wrong or something unexpected. And I mean, this counts also even in figurative work. So usually there'll be a little phase of like, no, I didn't want that to happen. But then very quickly I try to shift that, like, okay, it happened. I didn't want it to happen, but it happened. So what am I going to do with it now? So let's see. Whoa, sorry. Let me just put this up here so it won't yank it anymore. Sorry, give me a little sec. All right, let me know if that's all right. Okay. So what's annoying now is I have the cable where my hand was. Whatever. All right. So yeah, so for example, what you can see now is that big blob that I didn't like, that I didn't want. I've now decided to turn it into an even bigger blob. And we'll see where that goes. But that's what's also something that I also, it's like a love-hate relationship with, you know, the unexpected. Because, yes, it's always like a scary moment, But at the same time, if you lean into it rather than resisting it, then it can actually create really interesting things. Not always, but sometimes it does. So it's worth it in that sense. Also, all these things sort of that I'm talking about, I talk about them a lot, especially in my online drawing classes, which I give on Skillshare, if you're familiar with that site. And it's a really great website that has a lot of different classes about a lot of different subjects, creative subjects. And I'm very proud to say that I'm also one of the top teachers on that website. Along with my colleagues, I don't know, there are about, I guess, 30 or 40 of us. And so, yeah, if you're unfamiliar with that, you can always check that out. I actually have the link for those classes on my Instagram profile, and if you click on the link, you get access to 2 free months of classes. And not just mine, I mean like anybody's on that website. And there are a bunch of really great classes, so if you're curious, then that's the place to head to. And of course, like I said, I have Instagram. I'm also on Facebook. Twitter, which I don't use as much, but it kind of updates with Instagram and Facebook. And then Patreon, which is actually the reason that I'm doing these live drawing sessions. I started doing them for my patrons, but I've decided that a few of them are going to be made public, like this one. And if you're unfamiliar with Patreon, it's a super awesome platform. It's kind of like a way of building a privileged relationship with artists or other creators of all kinds. I mean, there are podcasters, musicians, graphic designers, YouTube creators, tons of different things. And what you do is you pledge, you kind of like contribute, kind of like a crowdfunding campaign, but usually small amounts, between $1 and $5 a month, sometimes 10, depends of course on your budget. And then in exchange you get access to kind of like these exclusive feeds. So for example, I share a lot on my Instagram and on Facebook, but on Patreon I share things that I wouldn't share publicly. But I know that the people on Patreon, they understand my work, and they're also, you know, they'll understand that some stuff is still in its infancy. And so I feel comfortable sharing, for example, projects that I'm working on that are works in progress on that. And then I also like send out prints, and something I did this month is I also gave access to a downloadable zine, my newest zine, called Hidden Hills. And I wish I had one with me to show you, but that's all at the festival where I'm going back this weekend. So, this is kind of, I don't know about you, but this is kind of making me think of like mushroom spores or something like that. It's kind of fun. So I kind of just want to look back into my sketchbook, see if there's something that, I don't know, gets triggered or that I can associate with this. And then I can also show you a little bit what I have in here. So it's kind of difficult for me to see what you can see. Okay, here. So here are a few little deers. I don't know if you can see that one. The angles are not the best here. So, oh, there we go. There's one. I quite like that one. Some little mushrooms and lichens. And I quite like this fox here. Oh wait, I guess they're all on the other side. So it's gonna be hard to show you this side. So these are, I'll look into a few wolves. I was just experimenting different things. Here's another little abstract drawing. And here I had fun drawing faces, which is something I don't often do. Some more organic shapes. So I also studied biology over, I guess, almost 10 years now. And even though I decided not to continue in biology, it's something that still inspires me every day. And so there's just all these like organic shapes, and I love things that are related to nature. You know, the stars, galaxies, plants. This is kind of part of a series of half abstract paths and forests that I've been working on recently. There's another one, though I think this one's kind of failed. That's all right. Another one of these sort of gloopy abstract islands. Then I was working on wolves and anatomy. Kangaroo, more anatomy, boring. Some flowers. Ranunculus, which was given to me for my birthday, which is really sweet. That was a collaborative drawing. Another little deer. And then up here you can see, I've been trying to actually just learn footfall patterns, which sounds really weird, but it's just something that I'd like to know by heart so I don't have to look at references for that. Here is another forest with many trees. So here, when I talk about footfall patterns, like that. Yep. The weird things you have to learn as an illustrator. Right. And then these, which you might have seen on Instagram if you follow that, just sketches of different creatures. Another, actually this one I made during my last live drawing session. That's what I did last time. Then another one of these paths with forest. And so yeah, they kind of, sometimes they're more like rivers and then sometimes they're more like paths. I don't know, what do you see? Do you see more of a river or path on this one? Then these were just other attempts and I was just trying to get the shape of it right. There's another one. This one's a little bit more graphic. and a little bit more abstract also in that sense. I was thinking of like lakes and rivers, but I'm not totally convinced. That's all right. Experiments, that's what they're there for. This one, however, I quite like. And this one, it was kind of the idea of a forest becoming a swamp. So you get to see the trees that have fallen down, and you can tell that it's starting to turn into something else. But at the same time, you know, a swamp is another ecosystem, so the death of a forest isn't just a death, it's also the birth of something new. And then, yeah, perspective work. Been doing a lot of that. And then this was one of my weavings. I have a series of weavings, so it's all these sort of like cloths, fabrics, where I weave them but with ink. And a lot of this series it kind of symbolizes, I like the idea of these tapestries kind of being like our lives, and that each single thread is one of the paths that we take and the different choices that we make. So that's kind of the idea behind this series. And that even, you know, though there are places where there are gaps and holes, there's still beauty in that. More perspective work. More perspective work. Random sketches. This was a map that I made for March Meet the Maker, where I was showing where where I've lived in my life. So since I can't see your names, I have no idea whether I know you guys or not. So I'll just give you the rundown as though I didn't know you, because I might not. So I was born actually in Boston in the US, which is why I'm American. And then we moved to San Francisco till I was 9. But my mom is French and my dad is German, so I'm also those two. And so then after that, we moved to Strasbourg for a couple of years in France, and then to Lyon in France, and then to Lausanne, Switzerland, where I am right now, which is why I still have friends here. I was there for 6 years. And then I moved all the way to Montreal for 4 years with my boyfriend. And then we moved to Montpellier, France, which is where I live now. And, oh, what else? Oh, yeah, fun, I guess, fact. So you see all these lines are actually, I wanted to represent the actual ocean currents, like the direction the water flows. So I based these off different graphs. And so, yeah, so you can see how the water flows between these places. Because, you know, we're so used to, like, looking at the land, but the sea constitutes more space on our world than the land does, and I think there's something really fascinating about that. So, you know, it all flows, it's all connected. That was that one. And then a few more paths. Meh. Had better ones. This one, definite fail. That's all right. And then this one, which is going to be part of my next exhibition, which is going to be in June. And I have to make more of these, actually. I'm just realizing that that's something that I could do. These are just different feathers. And I actually used the brush pen for these. So that one took a lot of not breathing in order to get all those fine lines. But I'm happy with how it came out. And then this one, more on the theme of birds. And so you might not know this, but last year for 2 months I adopted 2 baby birds. I rescued 2 little swifts that had fallen out of their nests. And they usually live, like, the nests are under the roofs, so there's no way you can actually put them back. And I ended up nursing them to health and then releasing them. And so I think this drawing is kind of a tribute to both of them. And one of them is actually probably on her way back from Africa, so she was the first one was released, Adea. I think that's her. And they're crazy birds. They spend like their entire lives in the air. Like literally they can spend 10 months in the air without touching ground. And even when they touch ground, they don't actually touch ground. They just kind of like grab onto vertical walls because their feet are kind of useless. They can't walk. They're not like, you know, pigeons or that kind of thing. And so, yeah, they migrate all the way to Africa and then they come back. And so Adea, she was released and she was very, very strong. And then Bobby was a little bit weaker. And we weren't even sure whether he was going to make it because his feathers weren't as nice as hers. When we found him, he was already much older, but he was in a very weakened state. And so it means like he had a bad like first start of his life and he was already much weaker than her. And when we released him, this is going to sound kind of horrible, but he actually got eaten by a seagull. I don't know if you can hear me while that train is going by. So, yeah, the day that we released him, it was pretty hard because he actually did fly away, and that was really beautiful to see because we didn't even know if he could fly because his feathers were just not in such good a shape. And sadly, a seagull, because they're huge compared to swifts, and they're super fast, and I guess he noticed from very far away that he was weak, and just like literally just picked him off out of the sky and ate him. So that was pretty devastating, but I don't regret rescuing them both, and I'm glad that they were able to grow up together. So anyway, that's kind of the little story and maybe what some of this drawing evokes. And then this was just some shadow work. I was working on different exercises, just like here too, working with grids and shadow and light. So there you go. I hope that you liked that little tour of the sketchbook. And in the meantime, I got distracted from what I'm supposed to be doing, which is finishing that drawing. All right. So, why do I feel like it was set up better earlier? No, that's not ideal. All right. Okay. I'm going to try something else. I'm trying to find my pencil. So, I just want to test something out here and see if, I don't know, I'm wondering, I kind of want to add a creature somewhere, but I'm wondering whether I should put him here, or maybe even down here. That could maybe be interesting down here. If you have any recommendations, I'll take them. So what I'm thinking is actually that it would be black. But then if it's black, then how am I gonna make it clear that these are separate? Oops. Let me maybe try to straighten this out a little. I don't know, maybe that's going to be a little confusing. But I don't know, I was thinking of the idea, I like the idea of maybe this sort of weird kind of forest growing out of the back of this sort of deer creature. Sort of. It's not really a deer, but kind of. Also, if you have, I just realized, if you have any, like, requests, like drawing requests, I'll definitely consider that. It would be fun, too. So then maybe, I guess, this would be white. The antlers would be white. And then maybe in that case, shoot. Because then I can't make them go here, because otherwise that would mean they should be over there. But what if I make the antlers go over here? Maybe not this one. Maybe I'll just have it move this way. And more of a straight line on that one. So I'm going to have to go back and erase that, of course. And then, does that mean the nose will be white? Maybe the eye. I'm really curious. I'm just going to try it, even though it might not work. Let me just double check one other thing. Actually, I have a doubt. Like, if I add the ears, are they just going to seem like they're in the way? If they are, I might take them out. We'll see. Alright. So as you can see here, I'm covering up some of the stuff I did earlier. But that's fine. I very regularly do that. I don't think there's anything really sacred with our drawings, and we can play around and break our own rules. That's the fun part. So, okay. I'm gonna try to detour this. And then maybe that. Oh, darn. Oh, no, it's okay. I thought that I drew over the antler, but it should be fine. I am going to detour the antler here. And I kind of like that the antlers are going to have a similar texture to these lines that we find up here. So I'm going to try to keep that, maybe make it a little thinner up here. If I can hold my breath enough. All right. And this one is going. Oh, I maybe didn't leave that one wide enough. That's all right. Oh, it's kind of cool actually. I like how this black thing looks almost like it's like dripping over it. Like a blanket kind of, right? Because it kind of curls around the shape. I don't know, what do you think? Do you think I should leave it that way? Or should I make the entire thing black and then detour this stuff as white like I initially planned? I'm still gonna do that here. So I guess that line that I kept is not actually gonna stay there. Whatever. Wondering whether I can give you a better viewing angle because this is a little crappy, right? Is that better? That's actually maybe better, right? I hope so. All right, so ears or no ears? Do I include them or do I not include them? You know what? I'm going to initially include them, and then if ever I want to take them out, I can just do that. And so right now it looks quite dark. But I was thinking I was going to use the eraser, but now that I think about it, the gray line is kind of cool. Maybe I should leave it gray. I'm actually on a balcony. I don't know if I mentioned that, so that might be why you like hear people going by and stuff like that. What if I include the textures that I put over there earlier, these ones, in the creature, the deer? What do you think? It could be a fun thing to do. Maybe it's a little confusing because you don't see the antler as well, this one. I don't know. Oh, wait. I've almost no battery left. Give me a sec, I'm just gonna go get my charger. All right, I'm almost done. Plugged in. We're good. Whoa, I realized that the drawing session, we've been live for almost an hour. But I do want you to see kind of how I end up with this, so I'll keep going a little bit more. I feel like there's some sort of weird distortion happening though. Let me see what if I do it like that? Is that better? Oops. Yeah. It still feels slightly distorted. It's kind of strange. It's maybe a little better. All right. So, kind of like how that gray line was working. So maybe I have a really cool box. Isn't that cute? With a little eraser. It's a little dirty though, but just want to clarify a little bit these lines because I think I'm getting a little confused with all of them. There's slightly too many, and then I can always add more in the middle. So. I maybe used a pen that was slightly too dark, so it's still kind of marked. You see them, but whatever. So I'm gonna think of adding that ear again. Actually, I can make the inside like that, and then the outside black. And yeah, let me know if you have any questions. So maybe I can make the other ear. So you see how I made it like this, but maybe I should make it more of a similar shape as that. Make it a little bit more like lying down. And have that go all the way up there. Oh. Yeah, I think that's actually better. So, however, this means I do need to make this blacker. I'm a little nervous that I'm going to lose the shape here. So I'm trying to think kind of in a negative way so that whatever is light, whatever's dark usually should be lighter, so the gray spots. And I still think that this is a little too busy here. So would you say that this gray patch is kind of confusing with the gray patch of the ear? Maybe I should just finish it first, like color the rest and then see. Oops, kind of covered that up a little too much. Alright. So I'm actually going for all black here, I guess. Oops, sorry. So this is the part that I'm really nervous about, because see how the shape here, it could disappear as I'm adding the black. I'm gonna see how I'm able to sort of keep it alive. So what I'm gonna do is I'm first gonna test with just adding lines, and then I'll add some thicker black later. Or not, depending on how this works. Kind of like that texture though. What do you think? Trying to think of where. No. Where the tail's gonna go? And I'm a little confused. Wait, because this would be the spine. Feels like it would go right here. I'm gonna check just to be sure. So what I do in that case when I'm unsure is I look on Pinterest, because Pinterest is awesome. And it's super useful if you're looking for reference photos of things. But for some reason it doesn't seem to want to work. Well, darn it. Should we just imagine that its tail is tucked underneath? Which is totally possible, right? Yeah. My internet, I think, is not working because I'm streaming. Which, whatever. So, I guess we won't do that right now. But yeah, I'm kind of liking these textures here. Kind of reminds me of those deer that have, you know, a different color part than other parts. And then that helps me maintain the shape that I had here. So I'm not sure what you think of that, but that's kind of what I'm thinking. And I'm also realizing I think I want to darken this a little, as though the ear was in a different direction, so that this is a little bit more smooth. I could actually even just have it completely disappear, as though it was turned away from us, which I like even more. And then that clarifies this other antler over here, which is much smaller than the other one, but whatever. I guess that's all right. I'm trying to keep a tiny little gray spots for where the other part of its leg would be coming underneath it. And I also quite like this little patch of color, but I'm still going to darken it just a touch. Oh yeah, and of course I mentioned this earlier, but maybe, I don't know if I made it clear. So, like I said, I'm co-organizing a drawing challenge on Instagram called Bring Spring Challenge with 4 other Skillshare teachers. And what I forgot to mention is you should join if you like drawing. I don't know if you like drawing, but if you do, it's a super fun challenge and it's not too late to start. Proof of that is that I haven't started. So, you know, if a co-organizer is late starting, then it's also fine if you start late too. That's kind of the motto. But the idea behind it is that we created a bunch of prompts with the other co-organizers. Oh no. Well, gotta accept the imperfection. Sorry, back on track. Yes, so I'm organizing it with these 4 other people and who are amazing Skillshare teachers. And at the end of it, so if you end up doing these 10 drawings with these 10 prompts by the 1st of May, then we're going to actually select 5 people who've participated in the challenge and give them a 1-year Skillshare membership, which is awesome. Did I mention that? No, I don't know. Maybe I did mention it. In any case, it's going to be super fun, and there's already been, like, so many great submissions. So I really hope that if you like drawing and are looking for sort of something to get you out of your comfort zone and challenge yourself, that you'll join us, because I think it'll be awesome. All right, I think this is getting somewhere. And I'm going to start adding some more abstract elements like I was in the beginning. And merging these 2 things together. I'm just adding a little bit more texture here to link up the figurative and the abstract parts. It's almost as though there's like a fire. Doesn't it remind you of a fire a little bit? Coming off of this deer. He's gotta be experiencing some pretty wild dreams. That's my impression. So usually what I do when I'm coming close to finishing is I try to get like more of a bird's eye view, so I kind of stand up and look at it or prop it up a little further so I can have a more of an like rather than being in the details, have more of a global view of the drawing, which is kind of difficult when I do live drawing sessions because the camera is like right above the drawing. But I think we're doing okay, and I think I'm getting close to the end. There's one thing that's maybe bothering me, and I'm not sure how I'm going to solve that, but we're going to see. So see how the lines are flowing kind of from this zone up here? And then these, of course, they're like coming off the creature, which I kind of like. But so then there's something that means that these look a little disconnected from this other part. And so I'm going to try to figure out how I can kind of bring them together a little bit more. Maybe it'll simply be by adding a little bit of texture that I had over here into this. It's one of the ways that I can maybe do that. Yeah, so this I'm liking a little bit more. Looks like it's tying in a little bit better. So this is kind of there's always a little bit of a frustrating phase. So I thought I was finished, and then now as I look at it from a distance, it feels slightly imbalanced to me, the negative space. So I'm going to try to figure out how to work with this to find something that I like a little better. And sometimes I'll have to kind of lay the drawing to rest and come back to it at another point so that I can kind of start with it fresh. So if I don't figure it out within the next, 5-10 minutes, then I might just do that. I might just give it a little bit of a rest. But I do like this flow. Oh, I know what's bothering me. So here you can, I guess, get to see how nitty-gritty it can get. But do you see in terms of the negative space? Here there's a nice flow, but if you look at this, it's kind of the same thickness all here. And that's the part that I think I don't really like. The fact that it's really the same thickness on both these sides. So I'm thinking I might either add over here. Yeah, I might add a little bit of these lines over here. And then maybe a few more over there. That's what I think I'm gonna do. And if I like it enough, I might share the finished result on Instagram. If you have Instagram, so that's also a possibility. Yep, so this is definitely the thing that was bothering me. I like when I figure it out. Sometimes it can be trickier than others. But often you just get a feel for what's not working. And it's all about learning to trust that as well. So I might even go even deeper. Sorry, as I'm drawing this, I'm kind of covering the rest of the drawing, but and so this is cool too, because you see what this does now is it's linking up this part that I was telling you about earlier. It's linking it up to this because the lines here, then they flow down here. So it means that your eye can circulate a little bit better within this. I'm still gonna add a few more. And I'm gonna thicken some of these. Right now I'm observing it from a distance, if you're wondering. In case you're wondering. I'm realizing that one thing that I liked over here is how thick the lines were, and that maybe some of these were a little too thin, so I'm gonna just increase some of those over here. Create something a little bit more stark. right, I'm close. I'm very, very close. So here this works, but this line is too diagonal for me. So I'm going to integrate a little bit of flow into that. Yeah, that's better. So as you can tell, it really ends up, the tiniest of details can make a huge difference in terms of how your eye moves and how the drawing feels. So that's something I'd really like to keep in mind. I don't know if you can see what I did here. I added some up here because they were kind of all angling or bringing the eye upwards, whereas now they're bringing it more at an angle, which means that your eye is kind of circulating within this oval space, which is something I prefer. I'm actually wondering whether I should just also add some more just down here. And sometimes I'll cover up the drawing like I'm doing here so I can kind of visualize it a little bit more. Yeah, and I kind of like that idea, so I'm gonna add a few more. Sorry if you thought it was the end, so did I. All right, that's already better, and I'm gonna add a few more still, which is going to kind of open up this space a little bit. So that's the thing also, every time you add something, it means you need to reevaluate how your eye is flowing and the different angles that things are going. So here, see how the angle is quite stark and straight? I'm gonna break that a little by adding some more over here. So now you can really see the circularity of this structure. And I'm almost wondering whether I might not completely close it up. Oh, sorry. Or maybe just partially. I'm going to do it partially. And I'm going to lengthen, see how these lines are short? I realized, oh, look, these ones are actually much longer. So I'm going to try to bring that to together by making these lines slightly longer. All right, now I think I might be done. You'll notice on my live drawing streams, I often end up saying that and then adding a tiny little thing. It doesn't mean that I'm getting closer, though. This time, though, I think I'm actually done. All right, okay, one more thing. I told you so. I'm actually going to... All right. That is it. So, just to give you a sense of scale, that's my pen next to it. And there is the finished drawing. And take this away. I hope you like it, and I hope you like this live stream. And yeah, I'll see you maybe around, maybe on Instagram or Facebook or Patreon, whatever platform it is that you prefer. Thanks so much for checking in, and I'll see you soon. Bye.